There was a time, believe it or not, when information was dead. It was lifeless. It just sat there, just markings on a wall, on a page. And after some time, we figured out how to bring information to life a little bit more than just that lifeless, inert, passive state. With the rise of the web, people were able to author things that sort of felt like they were alive because maybe they were animated a bit, but still not that intelligent, just information. Until artificial intelligence was used to start to gather very interesting aspects of information, we started to see that information could be brought to life. Add to that XR, which we've been hearing about all day, and you have an amazing new sort of combination that's about to start an entirely new age for information. And that will be the age of smart information. So I'm here to tell you a story today about how this is going to unfold. My name is Mike Pell. As Patrice told you, this talk is really about the fundamental nature, the actual fundamental nature of information transforming so that it will never be, again, passive. It will never be lifeless. It will always be active, informative, and responsive. So let's see how that's going to work. You may ask yourself, why am I talking about this? For the last couple of years, I've been writing about mixed reality. You heard Michael talk a lot about this. Mixed reality is my favorite aspect of this, augmented, virtual. In mixed reality, we have the real world, we have objects that are enhancing it. I was studying that, I wrote about that in Envisioning Holograms. My new book that's coming out, The Age of Smart Information, talks about this transformation. For me, I was early into 3D. You heard Patrice say that I did a lot of work on PDF and Acrobat in the very beginning, so I'm very familiar with how people communicate, especially in business. That's always been super interesting to me. Worked in the beginning of the web, the beginning of people trying to use 3D for something interesting. And then with Microsoft, got to experiment for the last several years with our reality rooms. So what is smart information? Very simply, it's information that's brought to life. Not like this. Right, so when you, I'm going to go back and just point this out. Have you ever parked in the airport parking lot and you have to take a picture of the numbers to know where you parked? That's a good example of not being smart, right? I had to do something to figure out what to do with the information. Conversely, you have a document, right? We create millions of documents, maybe even billions of documents that are completely inert, add no value except for the content that's within them. People have to figure out what to do with this information. This is a great example, right? This could be, from everything you saw today, you know that this could be more intelligent than it is. This is telling me what subways I can catch. We could actually bring this to life very easily with augmented reality, but we have to author that. It's on us, the content creators, to be able to do that. But in the future, we will be able to create information that itself is smart enough by using artificial intelligence, machine learning, reinforcement learning to do a lot of that heavy lifting for us. This is an example of how I envision information looking in the future. It will not be static on a page. It won't be just sitting on a screen. It'll be all around us. This particular piece is called Existence. This is created, I believe, by Samsung and an agent out of Tokyo to sort of show the beginnings of what could be environmental information. So just imagine, the information that you want is at your fingertips, but appears only when you ask for it. It's not, like that dystopian future where there's information painted all over the place all the time. It's only on demand, only when you ask for it. It's a very exciting future. In the smart information future, the rooms that we inhabit, the places that we go to, the vehicles that we travel in will be able to show this automatically based on our context. I want to show you a data example next. This is what information will feel like. Instead of the passive charts and the tired ways of showing information, this is what our data information will look like in the age of smart information. Everything is moving. It's a flowing system. Things are lit up. Things are showing you. They're actually showing you how they work. The transitions are important. They're meaningful. World did a good job of illustrating how our data can be set free instead of just being in tables, in charts that do nothing, or in very boring presentations that we sit through. This is the future that we'll be at very shortly. We're already doing a lot of experiments. We have so much information that we're gathering every day that we don't do anything with. But in order for this to happen, we have to create an entirely new set of constructs. We need new mechanics. We need new infrastructure. And we definitely need new tool sets. The constructs will look like this. Information is hidden in just about everything that we do. There are always layers of information buried that we have to dig out manually. In the future, we won't have to do that. The smart information will know our context and pull it out for us. Information itself has multiple layers. So when you select information and you sort of expand it, you know that there are multiple altitudes. And depending on who you're talking to and about what, you can pick the exact right altitude today to explain something. You might know that you're walking into a meeting and people really just want a summary. So you'll pick the most terse description you can think of, very short. Other people you speak to will need detail. They'll want all the data itself. Information has all of these layers, but we choose as the authors where to put that. In the future, with smart information, we'll be able to collapse this into one object that will know appropriately what level to present at. Again, with information, we're moving from a very static to a very dynamic, from the fixed to the flexible, frozen to time-based, and isolated to connected. Sounds easy, right? But today, this is completely manual. We, the authors, the consumers, have to do all of it ourselves. And that's exactly where artificial intelligence comes in. Combined with XR and the emotional equivalence, we can make smart information objects that contain both the data, the representation, and can take action, all from using the right system, without us having to do this all manually by ourselves. The artificial intelligence piece is super important to unlocking this. It's not that AI is the solution to everything, but AI does give us the ability to have the machines auto-gather some information for us, to choose the right representation based on context, and to learn what we responded well to in the past and what we didn't respond well to through reinforcement learning. The representation we've heard about all day. We know that using augmented reality, mixed reality, and virtual reality have incredible value for communicating, for making a connection, for making that, that clarity that all people seek. These objects will also be intelligent enough to know what we want, right? Through EQ, right, the emotional part, the connection part, we'll be using information that's really dialed into us, that'll learn over time what we do like and don't like. And so with these three pieces combined, artificial intelligence, XR, and the emotional part, we have a smart information object. And for us, that's the beginning of the age of smart information. But we have to work together to get to that point. This is not just going to happen by itself. People will develop pieces of this, but without us working together as a collective community, we have no chance of achieving this future. And that's why I'm asking you today to think about how you can contribute to the smart information future. So the system that we envision for this is really about changing the way that we think about creating information and presenting it. We really have to invert the current model from me as the author of something, whether it's a Medium post or a tweet or creating a video or writing a song. I, the author, have to figure everything out in advance. My systems really don't help me very much. In the future, you'll be able to create something and have machine learning, having the augmented part of it, be able to figure out for you how to best present to your audience. This isn't magic. I'm not describing something that doesn't exist. This exists today and has existed for quite a while. But as an industry, as a group of people, all the people here today, we all deeply care about this happening because we want to unlock that future. So, for example, if I was authoring a Medium article about this conference, right, about AWE EU, I wanted to write that once. I would really love if I could have, the metadata for it, the tweet auto-generated, an Instagram picture from something I put in that, all the way down to my infographics being generated for me. Why not? We can do this today. We just don't have systems that do it automatically, that do it on my behalf. So think about how easy it would be to get the coverage that you're looking for to communicate at the right altitude. But the systems have to do it for us. When you have the right level, you do make a connection. We all know that. You can be in meetings, you can be talking to somebody one-on-one, you can be addressing an audience. If you're not catching people at the right altitude, you've missed a huge opportunity to make the connection to get your point across. That's where these systems really excel. The information object that I talked about has a couple different pieces to it. We go from the metadata, the simplest, possible representation of anything you can think of, again, a movie, a song, a document, all the way down to the bits, right? All the way down to the data. Every single thing in the world has all of these elements already, but they're just sitting there waiting to be unlocked. And that's what the age of smart information really is all about. It's about building the systems, building the behaviors, and building the ability to unlock every piece and every altitude and every detail or every summary for anything. Anything you create, anything you consume can be looked at any of these levels. So just imagine you have a document, sort of like the one I showed you earlier. This document is going to have multiple levels. It can have a lot of detail, a lot of related things. It can have just a few. It doesn't really matter. The important part is that you can get to it when you ask for it, or when the system knows that you do need more information. You can see all of the connections laid out from anything. In a similar way, the detail, or the things that we talked about, all the way from meta down to the data itself, can be unlocked and used at any time. So no longer do I have to author for this, it just happens. Today, a lot of people talk about storytelling. As a designer, I guess I'm a professional storyteller. But the problem with that is that we stop at the narrative part. Everybody likes to talk about data storytelling. Data storytelling is really just animating a chart today. Where we really should be is in the conversational aspect. Why can't I actually have a conversation with that sales data? Why can't I have a conversation with that Medium post that I just read? We can, and we will. The platform itself is pretty interesting. Ori talked about the AR cloud. There's a fantastic announcement today in the same spirit. We need to work together to make these things happen. Once you sort of power the AR cloud, and all the information that we create from now on flows into the AR cloud, or at least a representation of it does, wherever you happen to be, you'll get the right information at the right altitude at the right time. AI-powered creation tools already exist. As a matter of fact, if any of you have used PowerPoint recently, you may have noticed when you pasted a picture onto the slide, you get a little panel that slides out. And it suggests different drawings, or different ways of presenting the information. That's actually artificial intelligence. It's already built into Office. You're already using it. You just didn't know it. In the same way, all of our tools, whether they are, making a tweet in Twitter, creating a song, making a movie, all of those creation tools are going to be AI powered. You may not notice, because if we're good and we're clever about how we implement this, it'll just feel helpful. It'll feel smarter. It'll feel like it's doing the right thing. That's the right solution for us. Because, as always, AI is really good at doing the things that we're not good at. Paying attention to detail, making sure that people don't have to look at the intense amount of data required to find trends and patterns. Machines are great at that. We can notice things, but not as good as the machines can. That's why leveraging them in our system and our tools is the path forward. That's why the age of smart information is completely dependent on artificial intelligence, machine learning, reinforcement learning, and XR to do the presentation layer. The experience is pretty fun because the consumption part of this becomes exploration. Right now, consumption is sort of it's a chore sometimes to get through a document. I have to tell you, not real big on reading very long passages anymore. And the reason is, many times the author didn't make it scannable for me. I like to scan things quickly. In the future, I may be enticed to actually explore something more deeply because it's actually going to play to that. It's going to enhance what I would normally experience. And so I'm very fond of saying that when information becomes more smart, more intelligent, the beauty that we often try to design into information as designers and people trying to make something that people will look at and pay attention to, that's not the point, right? The beauty, the visual is never the point. The clarity actually comes from the way it's revealed, meaning the exploration part of it. Charlie Fink, who's up next, by the way, don't go anywhere, made a really great book last year that sort of shows combining the emotional part with exploration, right? His book is full of incredible chapters from some of the best minds in augmented reality and virtual reality. But the interesting part of the book is that there's an experience to help me explore that. It's not just a book that lays on my desk that I've sort of paged through. It's a book that I can experience and explore. So more of that. Information spaces are the other big thing that will happen very quickly. They're already happening. There's something called an information space that contains not just data, but information, right? The things that mean something to me, not just numbers and bits. This is an example from Flo Interactive. So Jason Marsh created this and actually put Hamlet into this information space. So the entire text of Hamlet is contained in this. You can go to flow.gl to see this entire piece. It's beautiful because it makes your mind race with possibilities. So what if every piece of information, every passage, every document, every book could be experienced as more of a sculpture, more of a play, more of something that people want rather than just sitting there static and lifeless? These kinds of experiences can be had today. For example, UHN Park from Microsoft made this beautiful type sculpture that sits in a museum, just like any other, but it's not. It's an information sculpture. It's a type sculpture. Intended to be that way, intended to be explored. Intended to be experienced in a way that we don't today, but will very soon. Already, you know that information is becoming the interface, meaning there are no more buttons, there are no more arrows, there are no more things to try to figure out, no palettes. Interesting example of that is a new version of SharePoint called Spaces, where your information is actually turned into information objects, right? It's no longer a user interface, very much maybe like a sculpture. Think of it what you will. This is more like what we're going to see in the future. There's also experiments going on where people are augmenting, whether it's the human body or other elements, with overlays. I have a very strong opinion about this, which is information should be the key, right? Not the interface part. This is a great piece of work. I'm a big fan of it, but this is clearly interface rather than information. So something for you to consider when you're creating your own experiences. And so if I can summarize, the important thing for me is that you walk away knowing that anything at all that you create or consume will very soon be smart information. It will very soon be able to tell its own story. Anything can, if you make it happen. So welcome to the age of smart information. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. It is really interesting because we do have 2 questions that I would like to ask you, and you assumed that the first question would become, where's the hat from? But I can assure you nobody asked that one. But apparently you did some magic on stage because of the clicker. You used,
who
used
needs a
it so
clicker?
well. So pretty much that's already the answer. What technology are you using to control a presentation with gestures? So I guess.
Clearly I was using my mind, right?
Yeah. After we talked about smart information, that's the perfect answer for that.
Yeah. But to be serious, I was using the gestures that were natural to control information. There'll be an entire language of gestures that will be the most logical, most straightforward way to control any information because you know that it's the right way to do it, right? If I want to expand something, I expand it. If I want to contract it, if I want to move it, nobody needs to learn that.
Thank you for that. Next question will be from Nico. When are we going to enter the era of smart information, or are we already in it?
Oh, excellent question. We're going to enter the era of smart information a little bit later this year when my book comes out. So you can enter it today by going to theageofsmartinformation.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Pell.